And welcome back. We had that commercial break to really kind of digest what Mike Hamzey said. A lot of jaw-dropping information, including ISIS, will be back to full strength in 6 to 7 months. Round two now with Jim Veros, Elizabeth Heng, and of course David Rowell here. Mike Hamzey says President Trump messed up royally in the Middle East, simply doesn't understand what's going on there. Jim, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I agree with him. Absolutely. You know, as a grandson of Greek and Lithuanian immigrants, I never thought I'd see a Republican president happy that he got a deal done with Turkey and Russia. Yeah, this is definitely troubling, and it's not just because of this particular area. We're losing friends over there, and we rely on allies. You know, obviously outside of NATO. You know, if I'm the Israelis right now, am I a little concerned about the unstable situation going on that President Trump has talked about when he talks about blood-stained sand? Is that just there, or is it other places with sand? We got problems over there, and these are self-inflicted wounds on a lot of this stuff. So I'm really, really hoping that this is the end of it. And when it comes to Turkey, it's never the end of it. Ask people from Cyprus right now what's going on. So I'll hold my breath, but not very long.
Elizabeth, I want to come to you. You have shown us your New Faces GOP. You're from Cambodia, where there was a genocide for Armenians for my culture. But here, President Trump, you're Republican. President Trump backs out, where he allows Turkey to walk right in and try to eliminate Kurds.
What I would say for that is I think everyone would agree that Turkey's president is a dictator. However, they are a NATO ally. We should have never been in Syria in the first place. We were in it for all the wrong reasons with our last administration. We went into, we dropped, the amount, if in fact
we were in there for not to fight ISIS and get rid of the biggest terrorist threat to our homeland?
No, so it was important for us to fight ISIS, but we never had a plan for it. What was the plan? If in fact we wanted to fix the region to help the Kurdish fighters, the only option was to topple Assad. And we never had a plan going in. You know, we had, in 2014, the U.S. Congress and President Obama signed passing $500 million, train and equip into Syria so that we could train and equip the Kurdish fighters. The only thing that we got out of that $500 million was 200 Kurdish fighters that we fought, that we trained, and more than half of them split away. And the thing is even if we stayed or if we were here for the next 15 years, what is the outcome that we are seeking to get?
Well, David, I'll come to you. You're a member of the Fresno County Democratic Party. Does this ultimately, I mean, we have talked impeachment, we have talked Russian investigation with President Trump, but is this the one that comes back to bite him in re-election?
I don't know the answer to that question. I do agree very strongly with Jim. I think this is a huge mistake for so many reasons. Number one, it abandons our allies, people who have fought and died alongside of Americans, and Trump just says, oh yeah, who cares? Kill them. I don't care. I think this decision...
Well, he didn't say it like that.
No, he didn't, but we all know what he's thinking. He's thinking, what can I do that'll make me look good? You know, he wakes up in the morning, that's the only thing he cares about. He doesn't consult with his staff, he doesn't consult with the State Department, he doesn't consult with generals. He just wakes up with, I can't use that phrase because we're on television, but you know, something.
Well, I appreciate that.
Something occurs to him and he thinks, that's what I'll do. And he does it. And it almost always turns out badly, but he doesn't care, because he makes a lot of press on it. The people who watch only Fox News think that he's great, and the people who watch the real press think, once again, we've shot ourselves in the foot.
I disagree with that, and this is why. There were 50 U.S. military special forces that were currently in Syria right now. He didn't want to risk having additional U.S. citizen military to die. He wasn't willing to do that, and he brought them home.
Were they in danger? Was there an active conflict going on at that particular time? No, there wasn't. 50 soldiers were stopping the entire nation of Turkey? No. This was a huge boondoggle in regards to this. Now Turkey has more access to oil. They're drilling off the shore of Cyprus right now, and now they have an agreement with Russia. This isn't about 50 soldiers. This is about geographical domination of oil and resources of that area.
It's like
that's
What was
it.
the
like
end
that.
result?
What
What
the
was
end
the
result.
end result?
The
What
end-
could have been the end
The end
result?
result.
Leads to Putin.
I'm sorry, but the end result
One
is
time.
stopping dictators from killing innocent people.
If we were
That's
to
the
stop
end result.
innocent dictators, we should have went after Assad when he dropped chemical warfare on the
Absolutely.
Syrian people. And the last administration, Obama, did absolutely nothing.
So we pull out?
If
So we pull
were
out
to
because
go
of that?
in- no, if we are to go in, we go in. We do not just drop put a couple of military, having
50?
them risk their lives
Sorry, no.
with no ultimate goal at the end of the day.
ultimate goal is, I'm sorry, but you're telling me 50 soldiers were stopping the entire nation from Turkey from going in? It was just 50 soldiers. That's what you're saying. 50 soldiers was stopping the entire nation of Turkey from coming in.
Turkey is a
50
NATO.
no.
Turkey,
50. You're
Turkey,
talking about 50
Turkey-
soldiers.
Okay,
50
Turkey
soldiers
is a
stopped
NATO
Turkey?
ally.
No, you're absolutely wrong. No.
Turkey is a NATO ally.
I don't care. I'm sorry, but
I do not like, and let me be clear, I do not like Erdogan. I think he's an absolute dictator and has destroyed civil society in Turkey in its entirety. But they are a NATO ally.
So is Greece, and he's been invading their airspace for the last 3 years, and we've done nothing about it. So which NATO allies do we like?
All right, guys, we got to punctuate it there. Good stuff. So guess what? We're going to have to go to Sunday Morning Matters Extra to tell me how I'm a wacko for putting Biden and Clinton on a Democratic ticket.
Are
All
we going
right?
to do extra innings?
We're going to do extra innings. So
Cool.
we'll leave it at that. Up next, a local mom's fight against the disease that took her daughter. We sit down with